Texas frogfruit, or Phyla nodiflora, is a fantastic low-growing semi-evergreen ground cover native to Texas and many parts of the US. Some think frogfruit might be a weed since it has the potential to invade lawns. However, this Texas native ground cover can be an excellent addition to your landscape, providing an abundant blanket of flowers and, as a result, butterflies if it's given the right conditions. Hey y'all, I'm Corey from Ensemble Texas, and in this Texas Nature Journal entry, I'm going to introduce you to the Texas native frogfruit. So I've loved seeing the proliferation of our frogfruit plants as they have become absolute pollinator magnets. If you can see right now from the distance that the camera's at, there's a major fluttering of activity. Bees, butterflies, wasps, and flies, all sorts of things buzzing around, enjoying these frogfruit blooms. Some other common names for the frogfruit include the turkey tangle, the Texas frogfruit, or just the frogfruit. The frogfruit can grow to be about 3 to 6 inches tall. Some areas I'm seeing us really max that out. It likes the conditions that it's in. As for the soils, frogfruit prefers moist soils and saline soils. A frogfruit handles clay, loam, caliche, and limestone quite well. A well-draining soil might be best, but occasional poor drainage won't be an issue for the frogfruit. As for water, frogfruit tolerates lower water quantities, but might do best with a little supplemental water in the driest seasons. That is why we have it positioned here, originally planted, although it's spread, at the base of this rainwater harvesting berm, which gets runoff from our driveway all collected here, and at the lowest point here in this berm is where the water pools. You can provide a little extra water for the frogfruit during dry periods. As for light, it can do quite well in full sunlight to some partial shade. I'd say that it does get a solid 4 to 5 direct hours of sunlight here, and then does get some shade from this live oak tree up above, and maybe different aspects of the companion plantings we have here. The frogfruit's a part of the Verbena family. You might notice that based off of its type of flowers. So where is the frogfruit native? The frogfruit is native to the southern and central United States. While it's well represented throughout much of Texas, it's most prolific from central to east and northeast Texas. It grows along seashores, woods, and river bottoms, clearly in areas where there might be greater water and moisture conditions overall. Some interesting history for the frogfruit. Apparently in the Middle Ages, farmers noticed that frogfruit grew in meadows after they cut the grass for hay. And because the meadows often had fog, they called the native Texas plant the fog fruit. Apparently, just over time, the term fog fruit transformed into frog fruit. If someone knows more details on that history, please let me know. As for the benefits of having frog fruit in your property, let's talk about why you might want this Texas native ground cover in your landscape. First, for you and your landscape, it's an absolute pollinator magnet, which is undoubtedly a lot of fun. When your frog fruits are in full bloom, which ours are right now, it will be absolutely buzzing. You know, you'll notice small moths, butterflies, bees, and wasps. As well, it's a really excellent ground cover. You can see that we wanted to kind of cover everything in this berm, this basin here, this rainwater harvesting basin. And it can make really good cover, you know, in a garden bed or area where you can't or won't grow grass. It doesn't mind some foot traffic too. I'm actually, you know, kind of in the middle of it, stepping on it right now, but you gotta be careful when mowing the frogfruit. Apparently, frogfruit mowed when in bloom can struggle to recover for 2 years or sometimes more. So something to think about. That might be a virtue if it's now in an area where you don't want it. Although from the existing plants, it will continue to spread quite profusely given the right treatment. And then the aesthetics outside of the wildlife it attracts. I do like these mini verbena-like white flowers with the little purple center that come from the frog fruit. It gives your landscape a bit of a charming, homey feel to it, and a definite pop of activity. And then finally, it is deer resistant, not a problem for us here in our property in San Antonio, but something worth noting if you want to plant something with assurance that it won't be nibbled away by a resident herd. As for wildlife, the Texas frog fruit is a larval host plant for the fan crescent spot, the buckeye, and the white peacock butterflies. I think I've maybe identified all of them myself here at one point in time in this very planting here. You can see maybe a couple of those right now. But frog fruit is not exclusive to just butterflies. It's an excellent nectar plant for many pollinators. In addition to the butterflies, just sit and watch your frog fruit in bloom for a few minutes and you'll notice heaps of activity. Wasps, moths, butterflies, especially on sunny days. It's a bit sunny, kind of overcast right now, but even still, tons of activity, especially with the nice little horse herb, I believe, blooming in front. So we got a lot of prolific ground cover in this area here. As for planting and care, where's the best place to plant your frog fruit? You gotta consider where higher moisture, higher water can accumulate on your property. We've mentioned this a bit, but it'll be most prolific in slightly more moist conditions. And given its native distribution central to East Texas and even actually the tropics, you'll set yourself up for the greatest success by thinking about where more water flows on your property. This is here in a rainwater harvesting berm, so the intention was for the frog fruit to take on a good deal of water. The hopes in that is for it to be as prolific as possible, and then hopefully not need as much supplemental water in a drier season to really pop as it is now. And then I think about where you want and don't mind cover. So if you need cover in a bed or have a bare area of your property that won't grow grass, it's worth considering frog fruit. It can do quite well in partial shade, as well as I think it's most preferential to greater sun, full sun. But if you're worried about spread, frog fruit might be too aggressive for you, so keep that in mind. Another good place is along garden pathways and landscape pathways. They're hardy plants that, again, can withstand some minor foot traffic. It's not the same as a lawn, but won't mind being stepped on at all. And so you could plant these along pathways or within the cracks between garden stones or a flagstone patio if you're going for something of a more natural look and really trying to maximize your native plantings. And then last, you might consider putting frog fruit in pots. So they have this attractive trailing foliage that can make them perfect for a native potted planting. As for how you care for frog fruit, it can be very easy to care for. It might benefit from the occasional water in drier seasons, as we mentioned before, although it shouldn't be necessary for its survival if you've planted it in its native range and been considerate to plant it in an area on your property where more water might accumulate over time. But frog fruit will spread, so your biggest point of maintenance will be keeping it where you want it to be. You can mow frog fruit, but be cautious to do so when it's in bloom. It doesn't take to that too well and can apparently take a couple years to recover. But it's also pretty easy to pull up in my experience, so keep that in mind if you really just want to go after it and rip it up if it's in areas that you don't want it. As for some good companion plants for the frog fruit can grow well in a pollinator garden, especially if you're looking to fill some space on the lowest level. I've also seen recommendations to plant underneath ratama, a small tree that likewise doesn't mind more moisture. We planted our frog fruits here in this rainwater harvesting basin with Yaupon holly here to the left, a potential shrub or small tree, the flame acanthus, as well Copper Canyon daisy, which smells really wonderful. It is kind of crawling up some of these plants like a vine, although it certainly isn't. That might just be nature of the frog fruit not really having anywhere else to go because it's done so well this year. But that really shouldn't be its normal pattern of growth. And so maybe something to consider as you're planting it with other plants. I don't love how it looks with the Copper Canyon daisy. It's almost like it's taking it over. So we might pull these out, rearrange them, see what we can do to pull them back to clean it up and give it the space. Or maybe the Copper Canyon daisy might not be the right structure to complement the frog fruit. So season to season, what to expect? Well, frog fruits are semi-evergreen, meaning that they'll stay green in areas with warmer winters. However, here's what you can expect season to season. First, in the spring, it's new growth galore. So before frog fruit starts to bloom, you'll start to see its reaching coverage. In the right conditions, that being in an area with a little more water, your frog fruit really will start to spread. In late spring, frog fruit starts to bloom. This might vary based off of how much light you're giving it. In peak summer, you may need to pay attention to your frog fruit to see if it's worth watering, not necessarily for its survival, but for the quality and sustainability of the blooms. But that will be up to your discretion, so keep an eye on it. It can withstand intense heat and light, but best so with a little moisture. So keep that in mind if you planted your frog fruit in a drier position. As for fall, the small white flowers should remain. They can bloom all the way from mid-late spring until fall if it has enough moisture. And then finally in winter, your frog fruit is bloomed out and now has gone dormant. So you might consider, cutting it back, pulling it back where you don't want it, to reshape it and set it up best for next season if it hasn't died back already. As for how to propagate the frog fruit, this is done really rather easily. As frog fruit grows from runners, you can just divide your frog fruit and see where there might be some little roots coming out of all these various nodes. And so you'd cut your frog fruit back, ideally below maybe one of these rooting nodes. You might even root from nodes that haven't rooted yet, but cut that back and then make sure and get any sort of rooted portions into the soil in which you transplant it to, whether that's a container, a pot, or just another spot in your landscape. Be sure to give your frog fruit good water in that first year as it's transplanted to establish, reroot, and more so depending on the time of the year. Particularly spring is going to be your opportunity to do so, but the time of year in which you transplant it. Earlier spring might need less water, later spring, especially warmer temperatures, you might need to pay attention to it a good deal, but it shouldn't be too much trouble at all. All right, y'all, that's it for this Texas Nature Journal entry on the Texas frog fruit. I hope you found it valuable. Be sure to leave your comments, questions, or other ideas, things I didn't consider in the video, down in the comment section below. I have included the books and additional resources that I've consulted to produce this video and the complimentary article at the page at ensembletexas.com. You can find books and resources there, along with my experiences of working with the frog fruit in my landscape and paying attention to it in other natural spaces and really nicely landscaped areas throughout San Antonio and the greater area. So be sure to look out for that, ensembletexas.com. And finally, if you want to get started with native plant landscaping, Texas native plant landscaping, but don't know how, be sure to check out my free cheat sheet at ensembletexas.com/freebies, where I walk you through step-by-step the many lessons that I've learned over the few years of getting started with Texas native plants. And so you can get that cheat sheet for free at ensembletexas.com/freebies, or that'll be available in the description down below. All right, y'all, until next time.